Fire drills planned for this evening. In the event of a fire alarm sounding, please leave the building via the nearest exit and make your way to the assembly point located in the market car park adjacent to the Civic Suite building. Please do not return to the building unless given permission by council staff. I would also like to remind you to please switch off your mobile phones or turn them to silent. Please note that the meeting will be live streamed where the proceedings are capable of repeated viewing. Please ensure that your microphone is switched on when speaking and you speak clearly into the microphone. Once finished speaking, can you please switch off your microphone to avoid feedback noise? If you are seated in the public area, which nobody is tonight, it is unlikely your image will be captured by the recording cameras and result in your image being part of the broadcast. It is likely. If members are for any reason not present for the whole debate on an item, you should consider whether it would be appropriate for you to vote on that item. May I also remind members to declare any interests and the nature of the interests at the beginning of an agenda item, and that on declaring a pecuniary interest, you are required to leave the room when the item of business is considered. Right. Item 1. Apologies for absence. Councillor McPherson and Councillor Milne and Councillor Cripps as well. Apologised. Substitute members. There are no substitute members this evening. Oh, sorry. Councillor Linden for Councillor Cripps. Non-members attending. Can't see any non-members attending. Right. Minutes on the meeting held on the 7th of November. Are members happy to agree those minutes? Agreed? Okay. Any declarations of interest? No. Item 6, public questions on notice. None have been received. Item 7, One Team Transformation Programme. Quarter 3 update. Members will now consider the report of the Director of Policy and Transformation, providing the committee with a Year 3, Quarter 3 update, bringing members up to date with the progress related to the transformation and development of One Team within the Brentwood and Rochford partnership. I think, Paul, you was going to present this, wasn't you?
Yeah, it's just to highlight, as already said, the One Team Transformation Update is for Year 3, Quarter 3. The summary of the report sets out our progress so far, including is the saving created from the previous year, 24-25. This figure will be updated at the 4th quarter as part of the annual update. The Council are currently developing service transformation plans. Information from this will also be part of the Service's yearly annual service plans, creating paths for improvement. Recently, the corporate plan was approved and has now been published on the website, and along with the Council have developed its internal governance to match the priorities of that plan. Work continues to bring the audit contracts across the two councils together, and further work this year should include transferring to one finance system, but this still has to be procured. The Council has engaged with ELGA to review the workings of One Team and will be providing a report to provide future direction. This was a recommendation from Brentwood Council's peer challenge review. Happy to take any questions, but obviously I'm not Greg.
Any questions, members? Councillor Shaw. Oh, Mrs. Shaw.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Shaw's not here. You were saying about the audit going into one procurement. Do we know when that's going to happen? Or should that be a question for Greg?
So there's two contracts in play at the moment. When they come, so the procurement will happen. So that ties up with when they're both expired. So I can get Greg to get that date to you. But we're working to get a specification together for what we actually want from the audits and how that will work. So that's being done currently. But I will get the date from Greg because he will be able to give that to you.
I think Councillor Brewer had a hand up, or was it? No. Councillor?
Right. Thank you very much, Chair. Just like to ask a question related to page 7.2, paragraph 1.7. I noticed there that Brentwood's roughly saved nearly £500,000 and Rochford saved roughly sort of 150,000. I'm just wondering why there's such a difference in the savings for the two councils.
Paul?
Yeah, the two councils did not start with exactly the same budget, exactly the same liabilities, exactly the same staff, and exactly the same services run the way they are. So in the first year, Brentwood has saved more because there was a slightly lower base from that saving for Rochford, but that may well change in years going forward. So if we wait for the next quarter, we will see. But it's because they are two different organisations with two very different budgets. So it may be easier Brentwood to save some on some things. It may be easier to save some on Rochford, but it's not as simple as saving exactly the same in each of the circumstances.
Let's come back.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. So what we're saying is that differential might not actually stay as it is at the moment, and Rochford's could go up and Brentwood's could go down, and we just have to wait and see how the programme pans out. So thank you for the clarification.
Okay, any more questions? No, this members to this report is to be noted only. Is this noted? Okay, thank you. Right, members, item 8, S106 update. Members will now consider the report of Director in Place, updating members on the amount of 106 funding which has been secured by Rochford District Council on planning permissions within the district. Emma Goodings will present this report.
Thank you. Good evening, members. So this report is to look at the amount of Section 106 funds which are held by the authority. So Section 106 funds are secured against developments. We have to secure them via a legal agreement, and we have rules that we have to follow, Regulation 122, which I linked in the report, that so anything that we collect and anything that we spend has to be in line with those statutory tests. So in terms of the pot that you currently have at the moment, you hold just over £1 million for health facilities, which is held on behalf of the health authorities. So that is because they are not a signatory to the Section 106 agreement. So we hold the money. They then arrange for it to be spent and then draw it down from us. Essex County Council, they sign the Section 106 agreement, so any contributions towards libraries, roads, schools, etc. go directly to Essex County Council, so we don't hold that information. Essex County Council report on it separately. And then there are the funds that are for Rochford District Council to spend. So in the report, you'll see that that stands at just over £847,000. Actually, we've done some further work since the report was published, and we can confirm a further £315,980 has been spent. So that takes actually the amount that's held for Rochford down to £531,054.99. And I've just put in the report for context the amount of money that some other authorities in Essex hold. So you are you're doing extremely well in terms of spending the money. Obviously, it's key to try and spend the money as quickly as possible, but to have that relatively low amount of money left to spend is the lowest I've ever seen at a local authority, which I think is positive. So the report is to note, and happy to take any questions.
Councillor Mrs. Shaw.
Thank you, Emma, for the report. In my opinion, this is only my opinion, I think it's lacking because you've done Section 106, you've just notated an amount, but you haven't actually said where the interest is on this, because normally on Section 106, you have an amount that you've been given, you have what you've spent and what interest and what you've got left. The interest isn't shown on this report, so we must have some interest, and that obviously could be spent on another capital item, because it's not revenue, it is capital. And with the health, it just says health contributions, but it doesn't say what wards this health contributions are and what the Section 106 money was given for that health. Was it just to do a piece of a building, or was it, what was it for? It doesn't. I personally, in my own opinion, I think it's a lacking of information. Thank you.
Emma, if you'd like to come back.
Yeah, if I take the health section first, yeah, certainly the way that it's come out on the way that the spreadsheet doesn't tell you you're right, it doesn't tell you the planning applications that it relates to, which I can circulate separately. The agreements will have slightly different wording on them, but generally the healthcare contributions are to support healthcare facilities in the vicinity of the site. Some of them will have specific wording, so one of them specifically talks about certain medical centres, others will be in the vicinity. But we'll have so this is then to sort of go on, this is an interim position, so we're required to produce an infrastructure funding statement every year. The infrastructure funding statement will be provided at the end of this year for the financial year 2023-2024, and that will include the fuller breakdown of the money that we've also secured but not yet received, the money that we've spent in the year, and then the money that we're still holding as well. So that will have a more fuller report. This is an interim position because members were keen, I think, to see this information, but we are looking at internal resources so that actually we've got a much clearer monitoring position on Section 106 by the end of this financial year. We've got an interim resource in at the moment who's doing that so that we can report to you much easier, much clearer, and we can report to the parish councils and everyone else to make sure that everybody is clear how much Section 106 money we've got to spend, what the projects are, what's been allocated, what's not been allocated, etc. So yeah, I appreciate this is an interim position without everything in it. I can certainly provide the health details, but some of the others, I think if you can bear with us through the next quarter or so, then we'll be able to provide you with that fuller information going forward.
Councillor Mrs Shaw.
Thank you for letting me come back. I deal with the Section 106 money in Essex, so it's a simple spreadsheet. It's an Excel spreadsheet that you can put it in. And I have been on this council for 2016, and this has been asked for. So this is, Emma, this is not your problem, but we have asked our officers for this comprehensive. And we've got to be very, very careful as a council. We have freedom of information requests. And anyone worth their salts will just rip the council apart for not doing due diligence on this, I'm afraid. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Right, Councillor Booth.
Well, thank you, Emma, for the report. I'm not as knowledgeable as my county councillor colleague, Councillor Mrs Shaw, on this issue. But just for a new councillor and those viewing public, of which I'm sure there's 1 million people watching tonight, Section 106, my understanding, is the money that developers pay when they put up new builds in the area to contribute to the facilities within the local communities and infrastructure projects such as new schools, parks, expanding schools and healthcare facilities. As a councillor, it's come to my attention that roughly Rochford got 800,000, but there's still 1 million in pots for healthcare providers. But we see from the your report tonight that there seems to be lacking any sense of urgency around putting up those facilities for our community. I've recently visited Kings Hill in the Rochford area, and I spoke to the people in the Selling Suite, and they clearly identified the land that was there for NHS use, but as of yet they informed me that no inquiries have been made. And I notice that there is something coming to the end of November 2026, which we're in 2025, so that's less than a year away. We also have something, and my understanding, if it's not used within 10 years, it goes back to the developer. Is that correct, Emma?
Emma, if you'd like to come back.
Yep, thank you. So some of the contributions have end dates on them, so some of them will have a use by date, as you can see all the healthcare contributions do, and that one, November 2026, so just under 2 years from now, that's the most recent one that we would have to pay back if we hadn't spent it, or if the healthcare provider hadn't spent it by 2026.
Can I continue, Chair?
Yeah, go on. Go.
Yeah, okay. And then I noticed there's 2027, 28 and 2 for 28. And the NHS being the bureaucracy that is, no decisions are taken quickly, is my understanding. So 3 years would have gone before we know it. And I don't know what portion of those 4 projects are of the £1 million. Perhaps they're 250,000, perhaps they're £500,000, perhaps they're £750,000, because we don't have that information yet. And I look forward to receiving that information. But I am concerned for our local residents when the NHS is obviously under a burden. It's quite clear from the new government, they believe it's in crisis, almost not fit for purpose, that we're not using this money to further enhance the healthcare for our local residents. I believe it's such an important issue that I would ask the Chair to consider calling an appropriate person from the NHS to the Scrutiny Committee so we can ask questions around what are the intentions of spending that £1 million.
Thank you, Councillor Booth. Could we do that? Ask the appropriate person from the NHS to come and ask us how they plan on procuring this money and what they plan on spending it on?
So I know a number of authorities who've done that in the through their different committees. I know Essex County Council have, and I know that others have as well, have asked a member of the estates team from the NHS to come in and talk about their plans and how they work out what money it is and how they spend it. So I'm sure they'd be happy to do that if you'd like me to write on your behalf.
Yeah. Can we put that on a future work plan? And also, just for clarification, you say you're working with resources to tidy this up so we can have some understanding by ward of what money we've got to spend in the wards and what money has been spent. When that's done, could we ask you to distribute that to all councillors, not just this committee, so if they know what money is left, they can hopefully help us spend it?
Yes, absolutely. So we've got the temporary resource in at the moment, so they're working on that spreadsheet, working out, making sure that finance and all the departments are clear, and then we'll be able to circulate that regularly to members, and also I would hope to the parish councils as well, so everyone knows where we are.
Councillor Shaw.
Once the data's gone, regardless, if it's health or anything else, and you've got some money left, I presume you actually go back to the developer and say, we've got this money left, do you want it back? Because being in finance, it's too much of a headache to take a couple of £100 or £1,000. Do you give them a timeline to respond, like 28 a month to respond? And if they don't respond, do we then put it back into our capital programme? Capital rather, not programme, sorry.
Emma?
I'm not aware of the process Rochford follow, whether they wait for the developer to contact us or whether they proactively contact a developer, but I can find that out as to what they've done in the past on that and let you know.
Thank you. Councillor Linden.
Thank you. Can you just clarify the situation regarding the Holbridge doctor surgery there and the monies that were handed over to extend the surgery? And I don't believe that is going forward because of some match funding, or what happens to the allocation of that money? Does it come back in? Is it discount? What's happening with it?
Any information I know would just be speculation, so I'm not able to say that, but Emma might have more information than me.
So I don't, I'm afraid, on that particular item. If it's speaking in general terms, it depends on the wording of the legal agreement. If the legal agreement was very precise around a particular surgery, then that would be more difficult to change than if the wording is health facilities in the vicinity, say. So it would depend on the wording of the legal agreement, but certainly we'd be working with our health colleagues to make sure that we could spend the money that there is a project available to spend the money on before those deadlines.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, this report is to be noted only. Is this noted, members? That is noted. Yeah, thank you, Emma. And that is noted. Thank you. Let's Item 9, the forward plan. Members will now consider the forward plan for 24-25. Any question or comments? I'll just let you catch up and have a little look at it. Any comments, members, other than what we just asked to be put on there? Yep, if you're on, Claire.
Yes, thank you, Chair. You'll notice on this forward plan for this month, it says engagement with internal stakeholders. I think that was probably incorrectly put on there, and it should have been a review of the outside bodies. So we've had our first meeting, which took place on the 27th of November, and quite a lot of work's been done already consulting with the outside bodies and members alike. This is obviously quite a fast-paced working group, so we've got another meeting next week where we're going to just finalise the last few comments that we received, and then the working group, who consists of Councillor Linden, Councillor Marrett and Councillor Webb, will look at the involvement between the council and the organisations and what benefit it has for both of them. And then obviously it did say that we bring back a report on the 17th of March. I'm going to try and get that to the 6th of February now, because the next day after the 17th of March is full council. And I would like to get them recommendations from the working group from this committee approved at full council. So in the new municipal year, we can go forward with the recommendations and the appointments made.
Councillor Mrs Shaw.
Yeah. This is not a decision, is it? This item here. This is just. Yeah. This is just. I mean, you can declare an interest. If you're going to benefit from it financially, then that's a pecuniary interest. But obviously, if you've got an interest and you're speaking like you just did then and said that you was the Essex County Council and you dealt with Section 106 money, that's the same sort of interest. But you just say that you are, and then we'll go from there and see what the outcome is of that working group report. Yeah.
Councillor Linden.
Thank you. I put a motion forward on the winter fuel allowance, which doesn't seem to be appearing on here. Should it be discussed?
I think the winter fuel allowance was for the the leader of the council to write. It didn't actually come to scrutiny, if I remember correctly.
Councillor Booth. Councillor Linden, I think that's going to council. I think that's on the agenda to go to council.
Yeah, the motion went to full council, but I'm just wondering if it's appropriate for this committee to have an update to see what progress has been made towards that motion being enacted.
Yes, that's
Yep.
fine. I'm happy for that.
Yes, it was passed. So the motion was passed. Councillor Linden proposed the motion. It was unanimously agreed, without contention, which is harmonious of us all, from all political groups, to push that forward. So I think it is wholly appropriate that this committee just asks for progress towards achieving that that motion for our residents and our elderly residents, and those that might be available for pension credit, that don't necessarily know they're available, can get pension credit, or just not in a position to complete the forms. I think that was the concern of councillors, that was unanimous in that meeting, and I certainly would be eager to see about the progress that's happened on that issue.
Okay, that's fine.
You, Chair, Councillor Booth, can we just look at the forward plan for the next council meeting? Because I do believe that's on there, but I don't know the content of the report.
Yeah.
It might be what you're actually requesting now. So if we can go away and just find that out and get back to you, and then either if we find out it isn't, we can add it to the forward plan with this.
That's very kind.
Is that
Thank
okay?
you.
Okay. Do you want to come back?
Yeah, that's okay. I've just been informed by Mr. Brace that it is that report that's going to full council on this 17th of December.
I can sleep well tonight. Thank you.
Councillor, is anything else on the forward plan? Councillor Mrs Shaw?
With Councillor Booth, we've also got on the 6th of February cost of living update. Would that include what you're asking? I don't know.
I think that was
No,
a separate,
right, okay, thank you.
separate because that was an actual motion through full council. Right, ladies and gentlemen, item 10, leisure service procurement. Members, we will now consider the report of the Director of Assets and Investment relative to the leisure service procurement. We have members of the Leisure Working Party with us today. Paul Brace will present the report.
So, councillors, you will remember about a year ago starting this process of procuring a new leisure contract for both Rochford and Brentwood in a joint procurement, the first really of the two councils. So we're now getting towards the end of that process. We are still in a live procurement process, and I think at a previous meeting, members, committee meeting of a service committee, that it would be a good idea to make sure that the process we have followed is the process that members wanted to happen. So the report sets out all the actions that officers and members have undertaken in getting to the point where we will be with the service committee on the 10th of December and council on the 17th of December. We're happy to take questions. We'll remind everybody it is a live procurement, so I know the report has been circulated today, so we just need to be careful of the content of that report not being in public at this moment in time, but happy to take any questions around the process.
Members, I'm sure we might have some questions. So who's first?
So can I just seek clarification? This isn't an exempt report.
It's not an exempt report.
Okay.
Just got to be careful about mentioning names and stuff like that.
Okay. I should be as careful as I always am. Okay. So may I ask a question? It's just really 10.32.5, the key pledges from all bidders include, very admirable, all of those there, but I note there's no mention of safeguarding children or vulnerable adults, and that does slightly concern me. I hope all those that are bidding for this contract put the safeguarding of children and vulnerable adults at the top of their priorities. And just wondering if that'd be possible to seek reassurance that is a consideration.
Can confirm that. All those policies are a requirement of the contract, so we know that's in the contract.
Okay, could you make that absolutely crystal clear by adding it to the key pledges from all bidders? Or is it too late from that?
We could probably have that as a recommendation.
I mean, we can take comments back to CWH committee and full council, but they are in the draft contract documents that we've got.
So as councillors, we don't get to see that.
So I've just got reassurance that in the contract there is appropriate emphasis given to the safeguarding of children and vulnerable adults. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Other questions, please? Councillor Webb.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for section 2.5, one of the key pledges from all the bidders, which includes the pool pod and the changing places facilities. A number of years ago, I was involved meeting with Councillor Hoy, and we looked at this very issue, and we felt that the best opportunity for this to happen in the districts may be within a new leisure contract. So very welcome to see that. You have probably thought of this, however, can I just check in terms of any potential cost increases with either existing provider or new provider? I'm sure they'll be looking at making new investments, bringing investments into the leisure facilities, but hoping that won't then turn into cost increases for our residents. Would you be able to give any reassurances around that, please?
Paul?
Price increases are controlled within in the new contract. They will rise by CPI automatically. They can do that. They can choose not to increase by CPI. If they want to go higher than that, then that would be a request to the council to do that. So therefore, that couldn't automatically be happening. That would be a decision for us to make. But no, they can't just put prices up by any figure.
Any other questions, councillors? Do we want to make any recommendations to the committee next week? Doesn't look like it. I've just got a slight question. What sort of building surveys have been done on Clements Hall and Rayleigh Leisure so far?
So there has been a condition survey that has been undertaken on both buildings, of which as you would have read, the modernisation, there'll be a modernisation fund which will be able to help bring the buildings up to a leasable standard. We will, at point of handover, be doing a further survey of the building to get the live up to date, because the point in time of a condition survey to the time of new contract, so it will be double checking the buildings and what condition they're in, and then a programme will be agreed of works that will be done by the contractor or by the council, depending on whose responsibility that is.
Will the council be looking at putting some allocated funds away each year to keep these buildings up to a standard? If whoever gets the contract doesn't do the main fabric of the buildings, will we be looking at
the lease? Because currently there are no leases. In the new contract there are leases, and it is quite clear in that lease that we have obligations as a council, as it is our building, and the contractor has obligations. So we will have to have a budget for our obligations on those buildings for the 15-year contract. So the answer is yes, and that will be once, if council approve the award of the contract on the 17th, then work will begin on putting the budget together ready for February, so that members will see how that plays through and what needs to go in the capital programme and what needs to be in the revenue.
Councillor Linden?
Thank you. Obviously, due to previous issues and problems with leased held buildings within RDC, I understand the lease for this for Clements Hall ends in March 2025. What happens if we cannot reach an agreement through full council? Is there a provision put in place that the building will not just be shut down?
Paul?
If we fail to agree the lease, there is a strong possibility the buildings will close, because it's terminating. The current contract is terminating on the 31st of March.
Councillor Linden?
And no provisions in place if we do not come to an agreement, because we've only got 4 months left, and obviously, hopefully, we will come to an agreement. But
I'm just saying we do not have anything in place at this moment in time that we have procured, because we would have to procure something short term. We have not got anything in place at the moment.
Thank you for that answer. I haven't got anything else, so no recommendations from the committee? Okay. Quite like you there, Paul. No, that was for recommendations, but there aren't any, so... No. Well, there's none. Oh, sorry, recommendation on this. So there is one, yes. It wasn't one from us. That the members review the implementation of the leisure procurement strategy to ensure a robust process is being undertaken to enable preferred option recommendation at the Communities Wellbeing and Housing Committee on the 10th of December 2024, and provide any comments, observations to the committee as subsequently full council, who shall be asked to approve the members' note and progress which is made by the officers in implementation of the leisure procurement strategy. We haven't got actually any recommendations, but so show a vote of hands on for that. Unanimous. Thank you. And that's recommendation is carried. And that concludes the business for this evening. Thank you for your attendance. And the time is 8:04. Thank you.